Hey guys! So before we get started today, I want to talk about the artist that's actually inspiring us for what we're making today. And that artist's name is Klee. Now, Klee was born in 1879. Yeah, in 1879. And he died in 1940. So he lived a pretty long time ago, but his artwork is very cool and very influential. So it's important to talk about him. He was a German artist, like I said, mostly a painter, but he also did some design work. And a lot of his paintings were very colorful, and they were made up by a bunch of squares, really, or shapes that broke up whatever he was drawing. So he did a lot of cityscapes, basically, where you would see buildings, but the buildings were broken up into a bunch of little squares. And then he also did, he did paintings of people and self-portraits, and they're all in that kind of style where they're all broken up into shapes, mostly squares. So Klee was really influenced by Cubism and Surrealism, and I keep saying it, but he was very important. He taught at this school called the Bauhaus School that at the time was a huge deal in art. And he was good friends with this other guy named Wassily Kandinsky, who was also a really great painter, and they taught at the same time. He even wrote, he published some notebooks that are super important to design, and if you look those up, they're really beautiful and awesome. So Klee, in summation, I think is a very cool artist, and I wanted to do this next project dedicated to Klee. So like he did, we are going to do some Klee style landscapes or cityscapes. We're going to draw some city buildings just basically made up with rectangles, and then we are going to break them up into squares and color those squares all in different colors, and add a moon or something like that. So that is the plan, and I have some colored pencils here. I'm actually going to start with a white colored pencil. A white crayon will also work, and I've got this piece of construction paper behind me. I feel like Klee uses red a lot, and it's very bright and dynamic and beautiful. So I picked a red piece of paper. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to start at this bottom half of the paper, and I'm going to start drawing some nice buildings. And they're nice and tall, and some could be houses. You could have some behind the other ones. You don't have to though. But you're just drawing some buildings. Yeah, and they can just be very simple. And then you're looking at those buildings. See, very simple, just a couple lines. And you're gonna break those up. So they make rectangles, and sometimes they're gonna make triangles actually. See up here it makes triangles, but we can break those up. It might look a little bit nicer if you break them up into smaller chunks, but it will take longer to color in, so that's definitely something to consider when you're making this Klee drawing. These lines don't have to be super neat. You're just going ahead and breaking up these shapes into smaller shapes. And you know what? I think I'm also going to throw in the moon up there. And we'll just leave that as a circle. Because really, that's kind of what Paul Klee did. So what Paul Klee would typically do is he would just use all sorts of different colors to color in these shapes. So really whatever colors you have will make for great colors in this. The reason I'm using colored pencils is because I feel like they look pretty nice when you use them on construction paper. You might not be able to see that specific color from here, but I just colored in a orange square. You can see it a little bit. And I'm about to color in a couple more orange squares. Just kind of wherever around this drawing. So now I'm switching to a different color. You know, I've got this sort of teal color. And I'm filling that in. Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make a time lapse of myself coloring in these different colors because we all know how long it would take to fill in all of these little spaces. I know it's going to take a while, and I suggest you take some time on it so you can have a lot of really nice ones. I'd like you to try to use bright colors. I actually just used a dark color, and I don't really like how it looks, but, you know, that's okay. And yeah, I'll make this time lapse so you can watch me color it in. And you won't have enough time just watching the time lapse to color it in all yourself, so I suggest you would pause the video and get back to my video. But yeah, let's do that time lapse. All right, see ya. All right, guys, here we have it. So I've got my Paul Klee drawing. It took a while to color it all in. If you have oil pastels or chalk pastels, anything like that, you could use markers, but markers really wouldn't show up that well on construction paper. Construction paper crayons are great. Any of these things would be good to fill in these squares, but I think oil pastels or chalk pastels would probably be your best option. So if you have those, I would use those. But it's just like any other time, you use what you have at home. So yeah, I'm actually very pleased with how this looks. I think I might have missed one square up here. Whoopsie. But I think it looks pretty good. I think I'm going to go over the lines with the white colored pencil again, just to clean them up. So if you cross over the lines, you don't really have to worry too much. So I'm going over it with some white colored pencil. I recommend you do the same. And also notice that if you layer the buildings up, like this one I put in the background, I used darker colors for this building, and I think that works to my favor. So I would do the same if you choose to layer up this drawing. But there you have it. Once you get your piece of construction paper, you can start making your own Paul Klee drawing. And in the end, I think they look really nice. And they're not that hard to make, right? As long as you just take your time coloring in those squares nice and neatly, then you'll have a good looking drawing that was easy for you to make, that you can definitely make by yourself with no problem. So, yeah, just doing that outlining biz. I'll stop in just a second. Yeah, I'm done. But yeah, there you have it. Put a moon or sun up there in the sky. Put more buildings. Put some birds flying around if you like. Clouds, things like that. Or you could just put the buildings. It's up to you. Yeah, I mean, I hope you enjoy this Paul Klee art assignment. I had a good time doing it. Make sure to take your time. And I look forward to seeing your work. Bye, guys.